Hello, my name is Peter Cinnamon, and you're very welcome to a podcast which is all about the Irish League, where if Pat Hoobin's New Year's resolution was to score more league goals, he's smashing it. 6 against the Slippy Carrick Rangers helps his Glens become the informed team in the top flight. However, Larne are still the team to catch. The Inver men are top of the table, looking formidable. We ask if the pursuit of the Gibson Cup is all but over in January. We'll look ahead to the Irish Cup 5th round ties on this, your very first in 2026 weekly edition of Kick and Match. Happy New Year, you lot. 2026. We are now in the 5th calendar year officially that this podcast has been running, still in the 4th series. Sounds a bit mad. I hope your festive period season was all right and you enjoyed the snow if you could. A man who enjoys football no matter what the weather is. Hello, Joe Neill.
Hello, Peter. Thank you for having me back on, and Happy New Year to you and your listeners. 5 years is some going. Fair play to you.
Only technically, because it was late summer, was summer 2022, and now we're in 2026. So I've got to finish this year until I can really celebrate. But we'll have a good hootenanny anyway. I'm sure it's been all smiles, all giggles in Larne and the surrounding area over the past couple of days since you were unofficially crowned Irish League champions 2025-2026. How does it feel?
Yeah, I don't know who's doing that, but it's certainly not coming
That
from.
would be me.
Yeah,
That would
okay.
be me.
It's certainly not coming from East Antrim. I feel like this is the opening, my opener, my cold open every time I see you. But if you look anybody in the eye around Inver Park and around the academy, there's nobody getting notions or getting ahead of themselves. And to be honest, I think it's the only real way to pursue success in the Irish League. That it has to be a game at a time. Spicy games can come out of nowhere. A run of bad form can come out of nowhere. Injuries, as we've certainly found out over the past couple of months, can really blight your season. And as I said on the commentary for the highlights that went out on Larne socials after the Coleraine game, leagues are certainly not won in January. So look, it's not doing the sort of stereotypical coy thing. It's very, very grateful to be where we are. I think there's an awful lot of hard work that's gone into where Larne are. But there's nobody getting ahead of themselves. The goal remains European football. It remains being in contention for as much silverware as possible. It was a heartbreaker, to be honest, to get kicked out of the County Antrim Shield this year. It's a trophy that has a lot of meaning to Larne fans because it was the thing that sort of sparked the revolution. The Irish Cup obviously is looming again, and that remains the monkey on the backs of many Larne fans for their entire, well, all Larne fans for their entire life. My first Larne heartbreak was in 2005 as Vinnie Arkins and Portadown laid waste to us, and it remains the kind of one golden goose that we'd all love to see. It's fantastic to be sitting where we are. The two games in hand are obviously quite appealing to look at as well, but they obviously mean nothing until they're points on the board.
You must feel slightly bullish, though, for all those who were at the live show come August time. You did stick your hand up and say, hey guys, I appreciate you don't think Larne are the masters of the league as we had been in previous years, but I think Larne are going to surprise plenty of people. I think people are looking at the way Larne are and the way they're sitting at the table, and they feel like it's not surprising, but it slightly is. This is a team that was still built foundationally over the past few years, but as always in this league, it's the little bits and pieces that you then put around that strong spine, that strong foundation
Yeah.
that makes the difference. And clearly this season, they are making the difference.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that the last kind of well, the post Tiernan Lynch era immediately wasn't an era of, I guess you could say, turbulence. Going through a change of a manager who has won you two league titles, four County Antrim Shields, the group stage of I'm sorry, the league phase of a European competition to lose Tiernan, and then obviously to have a change in ownership as well. Those are seismic changes to happen to any football club on their own, but to get it all within that kind of 1 year period, I think what I said to you, and you're giving me too much credit. I didn't stick my hand up. I was at the back drinking Guinness. I spoke to you after the show, and I said, Peter, I think we're off the radar.
Well,
Like
you
this is
were.
this
You
is a nice
absolutely
place
were
to
off the
be.
radar.
But I did say it to you, and it's something I've kind of held since the start of the season. I don't think everyone else could see how promising we looked You obviously Nathan Rooney's tenure going to Gary Haverin full time. There was a core of Tiernan's team still there. You lose players like Kane Bolger. I mean, Larne's title wins have always been built from the back. Our stinginess in front of goal, in my opinion, the best goalkeeper and sweeper keeper in the Irish League, and Rowan Ferguson. Mountainous centre halves, really, really fast defensive wing play, and players like Tomas Cosgrove. But you lose Sean Want back to Scotland. Started a family, and delighted for Sean. Really good guy. Kane Bolger's dealing with long-term injuries, finally getting all that sorted out. So it's kind of like ripping the heart out of what made Larne successful. We signed a fairly unknown in Matt Ridley, which was a contact of Nathan Rooney's, and then you obviously lose Nathan Rooney. So I think people were kind of going, "This is a bit of a jumble sale." You know, they've lost what made them an animal, and I don't think people were looking at us. Meanwhile, it didn't hurt that obviously Henry Ross and his very committed investment at Coleraine was grabbing all the headlines throughout the summer. You know, all these think pieces and sort of headlines, and to uproot Joel Cooper from Linfield is a marquee headline that's going to dominate a full summer. But for the first time probably since COVID, I felt like we weren't the ones being put on the pedestal and shot at, and it was an advantageous position to be in. I'm not saying that's the reason that we are where we are. The reason we are where we are is the work that goes in behind the scenes, day and daily, and a good run of form. But I'm still not. I'm still not putting one hand on the Gibson Cup. Certainly not. There's an awful long way to go, and there will be twists and turns yet.
Also, to add to this, is that there was somewhat of a changing of the guard when it came to the first team. This time last year, we saw Ives go, we saw Thompson go, and we
Uh-huh.
thought maybe this could be Larne entering a different era. And there was somewhat of assumption that yes, some of these players are going to stick around, but maybe they're going to slightly wane in performance, and they're going to be stuck trying to make things work with a new section of players who maybe aren't up to the level of dominating the league when you have Linfield as champions, Glentoran with this renewed purpose with some big signings themselves, all the
Mm.
players that Coleraine brought in. I would argue a lot of the belief that Coleraine had going into the season, and of course there was questions, is based around, well, Larne were eventually able to make it work and have had
Yep.
made marquee signings and they've seen it all come together, and somewhat of those pieces came together in January. You did start the season not off on the best foot, losing to Coleraine. That
Uh-huh.
could have been seen as a bit of a seismic moment, a early changing of the guard. It was a close game, and it was just a one goal with Joel Cooper getting it. And then is there an early draw against Cliftonville?
It was,
And it
yeah.
was it was slow, and then came the Rooney thing as well, and people thought, you see, this Larne team totally, they're not out of the rebuild, let's just say, era just yet.
Yeah, the Coleraine game was a spectacular fixture to open the season for us anyway. You know, it's kind of, I see a lot of mirror images in what's happening at Coleraine, that I sort of lived through whenever Kenny's investment really took hold, sort of going back to maybe COVID and post-COVID. You know, I sort of became involved officially with the club during the first lockdown. I've been a fan since I was a kid, but in terms of actually kind of contributing to the club, that was the start of my era. So it's interesting to see a lot of those kind of parallels and a lot of those same things happening that we experienced. So for that to be our opener, was tantalizing. The hard part was the fact that it was sandwiched between two Conference League games. We'd managed to get through into that third round against Santa Clara, of Portugal. We had the home leg, and then I think just a couple of days later, it's away to the Coleraine Showgrounds. That is a tough away day to start your season. There's also, I think, it's a change of football and pace in those games. We become very accustomed in Europe to often being the team that has to sit in and look for their opportunities in possession, as opposed to dominating the
Totally.
tempo of a game.
Yeah.
And to switch between those two things within kind of 2 3 days, I think was difficult for us. But having conversations with some of the players, in the month or two after that, when we went on a decent run, you're right in saying we had that away leg to the Azores, which you just never know where you're going to end up if you make Europe. Then coming back to Solitude, a red card apiece, finished the game 1 each. We were happy with that. That was a point rescued, and then went on something like a 7 or 8 game streak. I think fixtures were maybe favourable to us in that initial run after Coleraine. But from talking to some of the players, they very much wanted that first game back. You know, that they sort of felt, you know, now that we're in our groove, now that we're playing our domestic system and sort of have a feel for the league this year, they think that if they had had that 90 minutes again, maybe it would have been different. And it's nice to see now, a few months down the line, that we've managed to achieve that twice, both away and at home.
I think I heard an interview that, regardless if he knew he was doing it or not, I felt Gary Haverin let the cat out of the bag, in the sense that he talks about how Larne now have this base of players who have been there, have done that, have played big games in Europe, as well as dragging themselves through the battles in getting across the line and winning leagues. Two leagues out of the past three, points wise, you're in the box seat
Yep.
to potentially get 3 and 4. And you've seen that calm composure. You must admit, last year it may have been a mix of just uncertainty, trying to get their head round maybe a new system, or being without some big players. But they've really been able to bounce back now this year, and really pick up the pace at the way they want to do it, whilst mixing in a couple of, some of them have been about since January, but finding a team without Andy Ryan, going, okay, there's a bit more pressure on O'Connor,
Yep.
and as well as McKendry, O'Neill, how they all fit. There has been changes there, but it's that solidity at the back which has been the platform where everything grows from.
100%. It's always been the key to success at Larne. It's been the defensive kind of, being formidable defensively. The interesting thing, and I sometimes nearly trick myself into this as well. People almost talk about last season like it was a bad one for Larne FC. The the team went via the playoffs into the league phase of the Conference League, and then juggled those league phase games in between domestic commitments. I know we're a full time team, no excuses. You know, the boys are, that's their job. That's what they do. That's sound like Roy Keane. Whenever they're in the academy day in daily, they have that advantage of not having to juggle careers and whatever else. But in terms of the toll that took on the footballing side, and not only that, but having actually worked on all of those games myself. And I mean, I'm simply a volunteer at the club. It's not my full time job, but we all sort of shoulder the wheel whenever it comes to it. The effort required from every department of the club to make last year happen was monumental. And then, yes, the domestic form suffered from juggling those games, juggling systems, trying to keep personnel healthy. People forget we finished second last season.
Yeah,
We went on an absolutely massive run after, kind of coming into Christmas, and on the other side. You know, it was a successful season. You know, other than the 2 years that we won the league, that's the highest league finish in the history of Larne
yeah.
FC. You know, it's but you know, obviously for back-to-back champions, it's a less successful year. There were, you know, things happening off the pitch in terms of managerial changes, and then obviously, you know, Kenny's departure and the new owners coming in. They'll grab headlines, and they'll maybe contribute to an air of, you know, oh, it's all falling apart. But that was never the sense I had, and it's nice to maybe have that validated this year, seeing sort of the run the team's been on. I think compliments have to be paid, regardless of personnel, to the culture that's been instilled at the football club. You know, among everyone, things change. It's football. Everything changes. Look at the news today. You've got Wilfred Nancy's gone, Ruben Amorim's gone in a single day. In global football, nothing ever stays the same. Be it, you know, managers, owners, players, whatever else. But I think one thing that was worked very hard on from 2017 onwards, whenever we were in the championship still, was the culture at Larne, and the sort of honest work ethic. You know, we don't have any excuses. There's nothing to hide behind. We are a full-time club now. We prepare for each individual game. Tiernan said the same thing. Nathan Rooney very much said the same thing. Gary Haverin has been alongside both of those players, and I feel that culture has carried through. It's a sort of work boots on ethic, where the biggest game is your next one.
Well, I would also say that for all those that did think maybe Lauren were in decline, you lose Bulger, you lose other men, like I said, Ives and Thompson, who were key men in previous years. Like, yes, you did come second, and we do all remember a couple of weird results. The game's coming thick and fast for Lauren, but you know, you do lose Limavady in the cup. There's some poor results against
Yes.
Dungannon, Portadown, the draws against Glenavon, where people might argue,
Yeah.
this team doesn't look as formidable, and are they going to really achieve what they want to and need to in front of goal? And none of the signings, I would say, during the summer really excited people outside of Larne saying, whoa, they're back, they're ready to go. There was a couple of, let's say, like, with other players, are rolls of the dice, but so far, so good. Looks great. You have nice, energetic attackers. And if we're to go then to what happened there and what was a vital clash for both teams between Coleraine and Larne, a ghost from Christmas past. There's Andy Ryan coming up and getting 2 goals. Like, that's like when you defeat a boss and all of a sudden they have another form.
It was lovely to see that for Andy. It can be a lonely place, long term injury like that. You know, you sort of feel like the world moves on without you, and often in football, I feel like the hard yards are done in the dark when no one's watching, and to sort of rally. The thing about Andy as well is that he had looked so sharp in preseason. He was having a great time, and obviously completely derailed then by the injury. So to have that kind of opportunity, it was Vince McMahon WWE booking yet again. You know, Andy Ryan comes off the bench for his second appearance back, and the first thing that he gets is a penalty. Obviously, someone who has scored some very famous penalties for our football club, and someone who's very reliable from the spot. But my goodness, I asked him after we were standing outside the media room, and I was like, "Tell the truth. Where's your heart pounding?" You know, when they point to the spot, because like there's nowhere to hide there. It's just you and a goalkeeper. But it's just that kind of footballer mentality that I certainly do not possess, because I was, rattling in the control room watching it, and he's like, "No, just do your job." I don't know if he was lying to me or not, like, but for him to slot away that penalty, it was a big release of emotion at Inver Park. I think I think that Inver needed that. I think we needed a game that was not just a sort of greasy win, or sort of an ugly win or points on the board. We needed a game that stamped our authority, or maybe made a statement of intent. And I think it probably cemented Larne. I'll concede that it cemented us as title challengers. I'll go that far tonight.
Yeah, that's great. Title challengers. I mean, box seat is, I think, putting it gently. Let's talk about Andy Ryan in the sense that I don't think it's hyperbole to say that a majority of Irish League fans didn't believe you would ever see him in a Larne shirt again. Was there any sense or feeling from you or maybe other people within the Larne fan base that may be the case?
I don't know. I think certainly if Andy wanted to, he could probably explore other opportunities. He was a player that whenever he was signed from Scotland, there was a lot of kind of disappointment that he was even leaving Hamilton, and I always felt that we had caught a real lucky break by managing to sign him to the Irish League, and from memory, it was through the recommendation of Sean Munt, who played with him at the Aggies. Uh, I think that if he wanted to, he could probably explore his opportunities elsewhere. I'm glad that he didn't, but really, it was a case of the injury happened, and it was next man up. You know, the football club is always just focused on what the next step is. So no, like, I'm sorry, that's probably not great for kind of sound bites, etc. But there was never anything really sensationalist. And obviously, then being hampered by long term injury kind of takes that conversation away. Um, I'm glad he came back. It's like having a new signing midway through the season. It's the same as Leroy Miller coming back from long-term injury. To be able to add those players to your squad, having done all right without them, is a boost that will take us a long way heading down the stretch here.
Outside of Andy Ryan, you've had another one of those good spells of health. You look at the bench and it does look formidable. McGee, O'Neill, Ryan, McKendry. You also add in Nolan and Simpson as well as young Dylan Graham there as players that can come on to a team that looks your strongest once again with Ridley and Donnelly holding the fort back there. You've got the likes of Sean Graham and Cosgrove still doing the business down the wings. That three, which I feel like the midfield is the one part where maybe not a lot of people were talking about, maybe just didn't have the same kind of oomph that you had in previous years. But when you have McAneff, Miller, as well as Chris Gallagher doing their thing, that sets up the platform for everything else. I think platform's the word that keeps coming back here, because the one thing I noticed from this game is that you have the flash of Coleraine, but I feel like in just the players and the team that Larne have, everybody looks like just a prototypical player. You look so much more calmer on the ball, smooth with things. When Coleraine looked erratic and trying to capture something on the break, Larne slowed it down and really had Coleraine, even without a massive amount of speed to the game, had Coleraine chasing you. And I think that comes with having so many of those players knowing each other, knowing the system. Like, if it is to be that Larne are champions again, it doesn't feel like a swan song. Maybe it's a reprise or something for those Donnelly, Cosgrove, Miller, Ferguson, like this base, which has brought so much success to Inver Park.
Yeah, I mean, the middle of the park's probably where we have felt our lightest throughout the season. You know, I think if we were drawing up the blueprint in preseason, the dream was to have Dan Bent as a new signing playing alongside Leroy Miller. Those are two people who will command your middle. And obviously, Leroy gets hurt, and as he's making his way back into the team, Dan Bent suffers broken arm. I think it was up at Coleraine. So he's been out kind of long term as well. The magic sauce this year has been Mark Randall, and he's currently out injured at the moment. But Mark Randall has somehow found another gear, has quarterbacked the middle of the park for us, has scored some stunning goals by himself. So to be able to look to that squad depth is a massive advantage, to not only have a starting 11 but also have kind of other options. It's maybe the strongest I feel that our bench has looked in a while. But I mean, it's not like we've had a massive slate of long-term injuries, but Gary Haverin has definitely been trying to kind of juggle personnel in recent weeks. We went into Boxing Day against Carrick at Taylor's Avenue, missing either 7 or 8 of our typical starters, and managed to grind out a result yet again. So this is what happens at this stage in the season. You know, you will, regardless of all the preparation, and there is a lot of preparation that goes into the sort of the physical side. Our physios, Mike O'Boyle, as kind of head of medical, you know, prehab and all that stuff. I'm not going to pretend I understand it, but I know that it's a lot more scientific than I'll ever understand. But you will get injuries, and to be able to not only pick from that, but to be able to bring players up from academy level too. But players breaking through now, like James Simpson, who's established himself in the squad this year. James Simpson is going to be such a player. He's got so many great years ahead of him. Behind him is Logan Wallace, who's now featuring regularly on and off the bench. He started at the weekend there. Earlier on in the season, we had a superb, promising talent, Mikey Harkin, making a few appearances, and he's been doing an awful lot in our youth setup. Played those European games. So it's lovely that I think whenever you have a situation like ours where the team is taken over, success will come from the first team quicker, because you can invest, you can bring in proven players. The thing that will take longer and is often unproven, the harder part, I think, is to have an academy where you're developing players who will slot into the way we play football immediately, but also then developing players for transactions to England, help them to find opportunities across the water, help the club kind of make a bit of money too. And it's lovely now to see the academy and the sort of first team side working hand in hand, and be able to, if the worst was to happen, we can pick a player who is already drilled in everything Larne FC do, playing the Larne FC way, plop them onto the starting lineup or the bench, and they're going to do a job for you.
And that's ultimately going to be the key part of Larne's long-term success. Really, the success of any of these teams is being savvy enough in the transfer market,
Yeah.
which of course is key, but it's being able to find the players that work for you and develop them as well, because then it can fund more business. But I just particularly was impressed, because when you're playing against a team that's playing a low block, let's say for example Carrick there
Yeah.
on Boxing Day,
Seen a lot of
that's a
that this
different kind
year.
of setup, right? Yeah, you have, right? So it's hard to tell, to you passing around back, and then you're trying to get one of your wing backs to pull in, or you're looking for, which he has got you out of a hole every once in a while, the likes of Benji McGee or Conor McHenry, to do their magic things with their feet, right?
Yeah.
But when you have a bit more of a game that feels more open, or Coleraine are going to go at you, to see that team just have so much poise and physicality that often could be forgotten about when it comes to these big matchups, I was very impressed by, which is why I feel, and we can talk about the points difference, why I just feel so confident about how this team goes forward. When it came to the game, I felt as though Coleraine knew that they needed to win. They could feel that this meant probably more to them than you guys did.
I
And
agree.
props to Gary and his team. That played really into your hands because you were just able to make things work, take your time, and then just open up and find that space and exploit it. And yes, of course, it helps. The penalty comes, and then I really love the goal from Ryan. The push off, was it McGregor perhaps, and then finish brilliantly with his other foot. Excellent stuff. And
It was near enough a mirror image of the goal that defeated Lincoln Red Imps to put us into the Conference League league phase in front of the same
yeah,
stand as well. Just Andy Ryan in that position is absolutely lethal.
and look, there's still plenty more games to go, but everything's looking smart. And we'll come back to where the next few weeks go for you. But let's talk about Coleraine again. Despite early on in the season showing flashes and there being a bit more belief attached to the hype, losing to Ballymena, not good. They knew what this game meant for them. They do get a win against Linfield just to add more pain to their season, which again probably
Yeah.
helps yourselves to then push them down. They continue to sign. They've got Will Patching now locked in, which I was like, when I saw Will Patching
Yep.
sign, I'm like, hold on, what is wrong with my algorithm here? I thought
Yeah.
this was,
They've already
they've already
got
got
one
one
of
of those.
those.
Yeah, they add in Ben Wiley, which felt like the first big signing. That's an undisclosed fee. Again, a player I like. Very surprised that he started, but I guess for them, a lot of Korean fans that I've talked to saying, I joked, Korean do know they can only start 11 players. Like, they can't just keep adding these players to the team. But they think there's a role for him. If there's Korean like fans, you're sitting there going, and maybe just didn't see it totally on the game on Friday there. Like, the player you're signing in Wiley is probably like a heel-esque type player, like a Rory Heel, where he's somewhat of a high-playing number 8, loves to pass, loves to try and get the ball. You'll be convinced he can play out wide, but I don't think he's a wide player from what I've seen. Not exactly a number 10 either, but he's added a bit more goals. You can see the highlight reel plays that I'm sure you've seen if you're a Korean fan from just the signing on. But he's a player who's bounced around the league between Ballymena and then Cliftonville and then a bit of a resurrection job with Portadown. But he's still young, excellent on the ball, and a bit of full-time football. He could be, and I think I said this is I said could be a league leading centre midfielder. I think they may have got that with him, but I still think there's plenty more seasoning needed to get him there.
It's interesting when you're in the sort of advantageous position that Larne have been, Korean now find themselves in, Linfield and Glentoran, that you aren't really signing direct talent. You're not scouting for what you want on your pitch. You're scouting for what you think you can turn a player into. And it's
Yeah.
something I think that we have been worked hard at, but also have been very fortunate with too. The due diligence was done on Lee Bonus, who became an anchor and a massive reason why I think we won 2 league titles back to back, and he's now free scoring with Chesterfield, having a great time following a spell.
Yeah, we're all Chesterfield fans this year, I'm
All
sure.
Chesterfield, aren't we? And now we've obviously then Benji McGee has come to learn from Loughgall. Josh Key, Tiernan O'Connor is the one I would circle. Tiernan O'Connor, I see a lot of Lee Bonus in Tiernan's game, and I think that he's someone that is benefiting massively from that full time professional environment. So it's almost like taking a player out of an environment and putting them into ours with a view to turning them into what we can or what we would like to, knowing that they have the assets and the tools, maybe if we don't plainly see it yet. And Tiernan's coming good.
Absolutely. Lee Bonus wasn't that player straight away when he got the Larne. He became that. Tiernan O'Connor is on his way to being, like, I think he's probably one of the more underrated players in the league where other fans aren't going, gotta be careful Tiernan O'Connor. But he's still
Yeah.
got that youth, and he's got all these extra tools that you see all those highlight reel goals. We're talking about highlight reels there when he was with the Welders, and it still puzzles me. I tweeted this out. It puzzles me after him scored 1 billion goals there this season. How Brian Healy has been picked up by someone like, we were talking about him last
Yeah.
year for Newry and on other teams, and that he feels they were. I'm trying to think, was he? No, I don't think he did play with Taylor O'Connor, but obviously another player that went through the Welders. So, yeah, you see that with Larne. A lot of these players are working out. I think Wiley's another one of them where you might not see it straight
Yeah,
away, but, could do things for them going forward. Big game to be thrown into. Just didn't work
very
out.
much.
But again, we'll see now what this means for Colerane's season. I know you'll say, oh, they'll be up there amongst everybody up and still fighting for the table. They're second at the minute, 24 games played. Like, you're kind of going, there's only 13 games or whatever it is, 14 games left. It's funny how everything swaps now. They're on
Yeah.
45 points. They are 7 points behind Larne, having played 2 more games than Larne. So many people are quite rightly saying this is probably a Colerane's title charge gone. Although the win against Linfield maybe gave them somewhat of a belief and reprieve, but really highlights how that game was very important against Larne. But look, if there's anybody that might be coming up, it could be Glentoran. 4 wins on the bounce. They go from beating Linfield on Boxing Day. They come from behind to beat Portadown. And then Pat Hubin. How do you ever doubt the man? 6 goals, apparently. I don't know if I would give him all 6, but he's got them. And a 7-0 drubbing of Carrick.
It's funny, isn't it? And this is why I'm always so cautious when I talk to you or kind of have any of these kinds of conversations, because just a few weeks ago, I would say Glentoran were probably teetering. They had,
Oh, they
uh,
were.
the race was nearly run. They're sort of 2 losses in a row to Glenavon and Dungannon. Managed to draw against Bangor. There was the League Cup, and then you have a draw against Cliftonville and then play us, and there was that defeat. It was almost like the Coleraine and Linfield games, the Coleraine game and then Boxing Day to me would have been the killer blow for Glentoran's chances this season, and the momentum shift with beating Coleraine 2-1, and that was it was an interesting game to kind of come back and take the 3 points at the Oval, give them the momentum heading into Windsor on Boxing Day. I'm not sure many people fancy Glentoran at Windsor on Boxing Day. It's not traditionally a fixture that they do well in that venue. And in fact, was that their first ever
It was
win
like
at?
in, last time the one Color TV didn't exist or something.
Last time they won, they were winning European
Yeah,
Cups.
one of those.
uh,
Didn't have a
but
star on their
I
badge
mean,
or anything.
I'm saying nothing, but it's crazy that I think they were absolutely on the brink, and now they're kind of I was going to say seventh heaven. I'll not say that, but to have turned it around like that, it's cautionary kind of patches in seasons like that I always look to whenever people begin to get ahead of themselves, and I know that we're kind of down the stretch now. We're into January, the window's open. That this is now, it's like a railroad, but in no time we'll be staring at the split, and there'll be an Irish Cup final coming up for someone. So I know it picks up the pace from now, but there's just such a long way to go, and think fortunes can change in an instant. But Glentoran have had, to say it's been a spicy few years for them would be an understatement. It's almost like you can see the script coming with the Glens. Uh, Big momentum, good charge early. Things kind of falter midway through the season, and there's always this inevitable kind of implosion almost in different circumstances. And I know that because we've been in the middle of a few of them, quite literally. I was locked in their tunnel whenever the car park protest was going on for Mick McDermott. Uh, but it seems that this year, again, you don't want to sort of make bold claims, but this will be the kind of year, if you ask Glentoran fans, that they would fear the most, because things begin to go wrong some way or another, and they seem to be sort of went to the brink, steady in the course. That's what, 4 on the bounce now, and free scoring.
Free scoring indeed. We will focus maybe on the goals there in a second, but look, it really sets things up for a fascinating game on Tuesday, because we've always got the Irish Cup games this weekend. Tuesday night, Glens against Larne. Fascinating game, because look, we go back to the table with those 12 points that they've won in the past, 18 days or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
They are 1 game behind Larne. You are 9 points ahead. Larne 9 points ahead at Glentoran. So let's bank those 3 points just for sake of arguments. 6 points is the difference. Same games played. Then here comes the match in the Oval, where it's not, I don't know what the name of it is in the 6-pointer, but they win, it's 3 points. they lose, it's potentially 12 points because they haven't got that 3 points I was talking about. But it's like things flip with that
Yeah.
game that you had against Korean, because I've said this before with the likes of Linfield, who I feel rarely do this. Glentoran at home, you don't want to throw it away in the first 5 minutes. But Larne are now the hunted. And if I know you're not going to comment too much on how Glens should try and set themselves up to beat Larne, right? But they should go into that game and just give it well. There's just, like, it's really, really exciting offering there. They have all these experienced players who I feel maybe were slightly missing in that stretch before Boxing Day. You have Hubin stepped up again. I know it's a bit of a flurry of goals, but he seems like he is the focus again. You have Stewart going down one side, the star of this team this year. Joel Thompson, who's been in and out, but that's another man who's just taken this team by the scruff. And
Yeah.
I think also the emergence of Kansis Kamara as a bit more of somebody a bit more agile along that back line, that's helped. They are not going to play a depleted Carrick Rangers on maybe the coldest day of the year every week. But this has always been, for at least my whole lifetime, a confidence team. And you can't be more confident
Yes.
than they are now. Q, Strabane drama this weekend.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier a very forgettable day out at Limavady last year. So I'm not going to say anything. These early rounds of the Irish Cup, it's been happening for years. A TikTok appeared randomly just at the weekend there of Queen's University dumping Linfield out a few years ago. These things happen, and as you say,
It's
they
perfectly normal. It happens to all championship
nothing to
winning
see here. Happens
teams.
to the best of us. But they a loss like that can certainly affect you. There was utter dejection coming away from Limavady last year. That kind of Irish Cup run that had just you know. It remains just the monkey on the back for Larne, and something like that you really have to go and pick yourself up, because that is aside from the league, the most desirable trophy that we can compete for. Until such times as we're winning the conference league. So yeah, look, Irish Cup weekend is so interesting. It's like a side mission that everybody must kind of rally and come back from. Chances are Glentoran will breeze past Strabane and they'll do okay. They have such a strong squad, and there are players there that know what it takes. Hubin knows how to score goals. Was it all-time leading scorer? Is it
Funny that.
Dundalk? I think it's Dundalk.
Yeah, like he had been such a dominant force within the League of Ireland, and then he has this awkward, awkward time up in Derry, and then he comes to Glentoran. It has been a wee bit slow at times, but look what he did on Saturday. He knows where the back of the net is, has that poise, and also just has the physicality. It's a dangerous combination. I don't know if he scored all those goals, but he'll clean them anyway.
Don't get in the way of a good
Like
headline.
this, no, not like he was like, and that maybe is a sign of a good striker. Did that second goal for the free kick even touch him? Didn't matter. He was running away like it was Alan Shearer, and he's got it in the bag. I will feel bad though. If I was the referee, I would have made sure that Liam Burt goal, the
It
goal
was
of the
beautiful.
game, wouldn't have counted. Because Ryan Cooney decided he was playing a different sport and just tucked it under his arm and then and ran away and played it on. Disaster. Well, I do want to talk about Carrick in a second, but lots of chat about Glentoran, as there usually is. And I really like these if they do come through. Now, first, Johnny Russell has left. It's not nearly the pitch that they are going to be massively concerned about, because they already somewhat had their first choice wing backs anyway. There's reports of that as a 6-figure fee. Nice. Okay. That's what happens. You then have a fairly full bench, and talk is that they are now looking to bring in Jack Malone from Glentoran, Jack Malone from Glenavon, which door maybe didn't have the best season last year, but this is a nippy ball playing number 8 who can be a bit of a quarterback in spraying passes, but also can step up and play somewhat of a number 10. When I saw Glenavon at times this season, he's been their best player. and they're sometimes setting it up so he can just have those shots from the edge of the D. This is a very nimble player who has great engine, and if they do get him, I've always thought he's a player that's destined to play for a top team in this league. He's ex-Derry City, and yeah, Glenavon Vander said no, but let him be underrated still. So the chat is then that maybe Nathaniel Ferris may go in the other direction. I think he just hasn't really had his run on the team, and that makes sense. And maybe someone like Charlie Lindsay, just for squad numbers, you'll know about this. You have so many men or above a certain age players in a team. Maybe Charlie Lindsay then goes on loan somewhere else. So, two, I think good signings for now, but also nice team building assets moving forward if they were to come off.
The interesting thing about Glentoran is they have definitely had flashier looking squads in the past five
Yes.
years, but this is the closest I feel they've been to complete. I feel like they're only a few pieces away from a team that could do some real serious damage. They're doing serious damage this season as it is, but you mentioned Liam Burt there, big fan of his. Joe Thompson did some wonderful things in a Larne shirt. I was sad to see him move on, and I knew that he's someone that no matter what shirt he's wearing, he will bleed for the badge. He's always instantly a fan favorite. David Fisher moving on, uh, bit of a polarizing player for Glentoran fans. Johnny Russell getting an opportunity is fantastic. Delighted for him. Good Larne boy, and someone who is kind of never played for Larne, but is interlinked with so many kind of people at our club. So it's lovely to see him get that opportunity. I don't think it will harm the Glens though. I feel like they are lining up to make some moves uh, if those changes come good, if those actually happen. Uh, I think you could see Glentoran being a force, and it's the opportunity to do so because they have, I think, weathered a serious wobble and are in a good run of form on the other side of Christmas now. It maybe sets the stage for them to make changes like that, because it's always a gamble. You go into the market in January, um, whether you're a club that has investment or not, spending money in January is a scary business, and it oftentimes it doesn't work the way you want it to work. So I feel like they're in the most primed position at this stage of the season that they've been in a long time. And it may not be the flashiest changing room that they have, but it certainly feels like the most cohesive.
Well, we will talk about the situation with Carrick now. 7-0, not nice. It's been a difficult couple of weeks for them. As much as they've been in games, they haven't been getting things across the line, including a nice little lead they had against Larne until Larne do. We're going to be champions things and go up and eventually win later on. But and Carrick are a team that kind of will go under the radar. You know this because we talked about this, Joel, at the podcast, is that the main reason perhaps people like me and others were suggesting that Carrick were going to be lower in the league and not pushing on for a top six place, maybe a seventh place as they'd done in previous years, as this team were more experienced. They've had plenty of wear on the tires, and the joke was, come January, will they be able to do it? Will they still be able to play? And at the minute, that's not looking too good. Like, a lot of injuries, a lot of players out. It doesn't help. Then they get the red card in there, and look, they've added a couple of players this season who hasn't really taken the step up. They lose Jack Scott because he's been recalled by Coleraine. Wonder if he will be going to another team. We'll have to see. But they do have a few games in hand, which are nice, but based on current form, they're unlikely to get a lot from that. Look, they're helped by the fact that Glenavon have still got such a measly points total, but it's difficult for Carrick where, like, is
Yeah.
that a serious injury for Gartside? We don't know. What's happened with Callagher? We haven't really seen consistency from Crow playing week in and week out. So they've been with like Maculitis for months. This is a team that really can't spend a lot of time without players like that.
Last time they saw 3 points was the end of October. That must feel like an eternity to everyone around that club. Didn't get a chance to watch the full game, but from having watched back highlights from the weekend, a couple of things that stuck out to me were that obviously you can look at the red card being a turning point of a game like that. We've seen blowouts like that happen after a red card, um, But it's the fact that things were not going well for them even at 11v11. You know, they were 2-0 down and were being parted like the Red Sea by Hooven. I think that probably,
When there's two players free in the box
yeah.
beyond your wing back, oh no.
Also, then after the red card, people may push back on this, but I feel like a lot of the situations that the goals came from, they weren't because of the odd man. I think they were still being cut open. There were players kind of standing like statues, players out of position. They were still just cutting them open regardless. It didn't feel like the build up to a lot of the goals after the red card were due to being a player down. That may sound like a stupid thing to say, but just from having watched it, it didn't obviously look like a team that were kind of a man down with seeing those goals. I think it was more from sort of static per defending. It just felt like they weren't switched on. But you know, you talked earlier about morale and momentum, and to be on a run like that, I don't know how hard it must be to lace your boots on a freezing cold Saturday afternoon and take on a kind of game like that, and to be kind of 2-0 down, man sent off. They definitely looked like a team that were defeated long before they were defeated, and I probably understand why. I thought it was very classy of Stephen Baxter to shake Patrick Hooven's hand coming off. I
I
thought,
mean, game respects game.
yeah, like he is. He's Mount Rushmore. He's Irish League Mount Rushmore, whether you like him or not. He's just an absolute icon of the sport here, or of the game here. I thought that was a really nice touch because uh, you would be searching hard for any kind of positivity from a day like that after the run that they've been on, months without a win, and to kind of do that, I thought was a real mark of the man. But yeah, things are not looking great at Carrick right now.
No, 21 games played, 19 points on the board, 7 points the difference between them and Glenavon in 12th. So 7 is a nice enough, especially as the games are running out here. A nice enough, 17 games played left for them to play, but still, with 2 games in hand, they would like to add to that. A team who's added a significant amount since really Boxing Day there is Crusaders. They needed it. 7 points added extra there via the fact that they defeated Dunganna Swifts at home. You know, I remember around this time last year, or at least in January this time last year, I think it was the start of the descent of form for the Crews, and got beat 5-1 or something by Dungannon. And in the end, this was a bad matchup for the Swifts because the Crews were able to exploit what is somewhat of a brittle back line for the Swifts. But it's a back and forth day, and they get the 2 goals and are able to hold off the Swifts. There's been lots of talk about them, but a big game for the Crews keeper.
I'm actually going to spend the rest of this show just talking about that Finlay Thorndike goal, just between now and you wrapping things up.
But that's what he has. That's what when he signed for the Crews, everyone was remembering that goal he scored past the Blues in the Irish Cup, and you think he's going to do that all the time. And then the Glens fans are saying, "Nah, that's not what happens." But now we're just going to be thinking about him putting, was it Peter Maguire on his backside? Like the man is a baller when he wants to be.
I really like him. To be able to switch on like that. It's the fact. I honestly, to me, that's a goal of the season contender. It may not
No,
have
it's
been.
not.
It's go and watch it back. The actual finish itself isn't going to be your kind of 25-yard screamer. It's the fact that the movement begins in his own half. Massively strong challenge to win the ball. Seen those whistled for fouls week in, week out. The fact that he wins that ball clean, beats his first man, and then it's the read between him and Elliot Dunlop. Dunlop takes off down the left wing. Thorndike beats his first man, cuts in on his second and underlaps. And then that read from Dunlop to take it down the wing and play it back in. And then it's that dummy. You got to go and watch that dummy. There are ankles in orbit.
Yes.
There are just bits of sock flying all over the 18-yard box. That dummy, and then not only that, after that, to have the extra step and then to cut it to the left post and not just finish where you see daylight. That is, you'll struggle to see a more complete goal in our league this season. I think it's up there. I really do.
It's one of the ones that'll be in the highlight reel. Like, it seems to be
Yeah.
the word of the podcast. Like, Niffle are like, we'll have that. We'll have the Will Patching goal in the last second against Linfield. Like,
Yeah.
those are the ones that they want. And it's been said time and time again, this Cruise team has something going forward, but it's oftentimes at the back, and particularly in that centre midfield where they're being got at and then are awfully trying to chase the game, and that hasn't helped them. So they get that nice goal. Fraser Bryden steps up in the second half to get his,
Of course he does.
but like let's go back. We all know what you played in five-a-side, not keeper, because you completely breezed past my love for Debaga. That man had some big saves. There was free kicks. There were shots from far out. And, Dungannon are a team that unfortunately don't create a lot of chances, but are very efficient when they do. Unfortunately, they just didn't have that ability to thread the needle with the ball past that keeper. He had a bit of a day.
Johnny Tuffy is a big Irish league name, and to have him kind of not starting, it's one of those things. It's like me being told that we don't have Rowe. To step into his shoes is a big job. Good guy, good keeper. I did the Nifl TV opening weekend on Boxing Day. I did the Crusaders Cliftonville match at Solitude, and again, Debaga was a big part of the reason I think Crusaders were successful on the day. He's a shot stopper. I love when these guys come out of nowhere and just make a name for themselves. Yeah, no, I'm not breezing past him. Credit where it's due. Making waves this season. But as I say, we have what 20 more minutes of me talking about that Thorndike goal.
Yeah, well, you can if
I
you
wouldn't
want
do
to.
that
Like
to you.
they're getting a few, they're getting a few of these players back. Hopefully, when it comes to the Cruise, will they be able to hang on to uh, Fraser Bryden in January? We don't know, but I think in a season where that's almost like a third of their points in what 7-10 days, it shows you how meek it's been. I'm sure if you're a fan of that club and that team, you'll think, come on, just push forward. So we're just not even in the conversation for 11th. I still think they are. But it's games like this. It just shows that if there's a slight bit of opening, you need to take them, because oftentimes you will be on the other end of this. We saw this with the first game of the season for the Cruise, where they really should have claimed 3 points, and then it's Carrick, a decent rival, who are doing the
Yeah.
business against them. So they'll probably wish they'd gotten a bit more from their game against Carrick in between there. But beating Cliftonville, you can maybe put that down for a bit of Derby magic. But winning your home games, and it hasn't particularly been a very fruitful place for this side. But
No.
they win if they can just not totally rely on the keeper, because we're talking about the Baga, but Tuffy, he came in, Tuffy took his place very quickly back at the start of the season. Then you thought, well, they've already written this player off. So the fact that he's back in, hopefully they can build up a bit more confidence in him, because that is an area pitch where they are struggling. Big points for them. Linfield, like, oof, past couple of weeks, some to forget. You're not really going into a game, are you? It's not often that you're talking about Linfield going into a game saying, could they lose four on the bounce? They truly were one of the
I,
worst
I, I
teams in form.
I would love to. I would love somebody to pull the stats for the last time that happened, because I don't
No.
think I can remember it. It almost looks alien. Flicking around on kind of flash scoring on the league's website before coming on with you tonight, and they're sitting open in front of me now. It almost looks alien to see for the Blues.
And when
Um,
I was talking there to Mark McGuigan, obviously a Blues fan, and if you haven't listened to that podcast, go back, listen to the previous one, just analysing what this season now looks like for Linfield. We talked about the idea of, we have these players who have they're young, but they have a bit of pedigree outside of Linfield, where they've never truly grabbed their place in the team and have never had a run. And we said, if these players don't get a run now and start performing, then David Healy rightfully needs to say, well, you know what, we've tried. It's time to move on. It is a thumping of Bangor, 6-1, but the players we're talking about, Charlie Allen, Matthew Yates, Chris McKee, they stepped up. And that'll be the most positive thing from this, is that it's not, of course, I think Matthew Fitzpatrick plays a big role, not only in the two goals that he got, but the other goals as well. But it's those names in particular that you can think, maybe there's something from these players to give between now and the end of the season, because they can't just float by. They need to finish second or third to try and get one of these European places.
it would be so Linfield to go win the Irish Cup.
Oh no! With one of the worst infield teams ever. Hardy, hardy, har.
I think it's almost and listen, I'm never writing Linfield off. Like I've watched this league since I was but a boy, and you never write the Blues off. You never say their race is running anyway. But it was almost like I felt like Joel Cooper was the difference last year. It was interesting to see discontent among Linfield fans with a title winning year last year. It was almost like, yeah, we won it, but the league wasn't great. We weren't great. The championship's a championship, but to remove Joel Cooper from that, I can't remember the number of goals that he contributed last season to the Blues title when at a counter, and just the manner in which they did it. But to remove him, I think, has probably shone a light on the fact that everything in sport, to me, not just football, is cyclical. Pick any sport, and it's the same whether it's here, North America, the NFL, the NHL. It's all cycles. You get to the sort of top of the mountain with any sort of generation of teams that you have, or sorry, players that you have, and to a certain extent, you have to go back to the drawing board, rebuild, bring in fresh blood, innovate, and maybe Cooper gone from that has maybe exposed that maybe it isn't. It, it's weird, Peter. It almost feels strange talking about the Blues like this, and it almost feels like I shouldn't be doing it. I'm certainly not dismissing Linfield, but this is not what we're used to. It's not what I've been watching for for the
No,
past
but
kind of 20
a
years.
drubbing of a team like Bangor is what we're used to. So they go through the gears. I mean, I found Bangor to be a team that are very direct and perhaps struggle to deal with teams that can really unpick you from moving the ball about, which that bigger pitch didn't particularly help. There's been plenty of very serviceable mid-table teams in this league who, when they have their big day at Windsor, it's a day to forget and put to bed and never talk about again. So let's not overhype it too much. Bangor, I saw them on Boxing Day, and I thought actually in the end they were able to nullify Dunganna Swifts to the point where they were unlucky for it to be a loss because Dungannon weren't really able to create anything. It's kind of a nothing early goal seals that. But they beat Ballymena, and I think we'll talk about maybe briefly where Ballymena can go from here. So, I mean, the Linfield game is and was always going to be a free hit.
Yeah, I remember them as well. Again, I keep talking about the olden days here, but it was almost like you went to Windsor to take your beating, and you
The
went.
year was 2017. Inver Park was grass.
My back and knees were already sore. Yeah, like you write that one off. I think the point you made about the big surface is a really valid one. Really tight little pitch at Bangor. Just an alien surface for them. I just felt from watching through the highlights that they were not at it. They were very static. Linfield were killer from kind of going direct. They were getting balls in behind. They were just off it. And the goal even that they got back. I actually around it a few times. The Bangor penalty, uh, mad one. Don't think it was a penalty. But then I realised I think it was Oisin Devlin who's on loan there from Larne. So then I decided it was an absolute stonewall, and I thought thoughts and prayers to Oisin. I hope he's doing okay. I'll maybe check in and. But yeah, Linfield's penalty was though big fat handball. But yeah, you put those in the bin. Bangor's season so far has gone, I think, pretty much how I expected it to go. I think that they're doing really well. All things considered, they're scalping and they're pulling points. Kind of surprise points, surprise wins. You go back to the start of the season, beating Cliftonville at home, and kind of getting the odd win here and there. And if you talk to Graham Bailey or anybody at the club, it's security in the first year, I'd imagine, and then it's building on that foundation. So they'll not come away completely destroyed from a hammering at Windsor to Linfield. Linfield have done that to everybody.
So the table currently, as we stand, Glenavon 12 points, 23. 11th are Carrick, 21, 19 points. Crusaders looking so much better, adding in those 7 points. 23 played, 24 on the board. Ballymena are also a team with 24 points on the board, having played 22. Portadown 4 points above those two teams, having played 23. Bangor are exactly the same, except Portadown have worse goal difference. Cliftonville with 20 games played, 30 points. Swifts 23, 37 points. Linfield weird in fourth, 21 games played, 38 points, like 5 points off Glentoran. With the same amount of games played, like they feel like weirdly in limbo between now and the end of the season. As we said, Glenn's 21, 43, Coleraine 24, 45, Larne 22, 52 points. So that's where we are. Like, we were only talking about 4 games this weekend because we had 2 games called off by snow. There was loads of games in the lower divisions that were also called off. Does this not somewhat highlight? I don't want to.
Here we go. Oh, here we
Well,
go.
okay. So look, does this not highlight any talk of a May to February season as a little bit silly?
That it covers the same period when most of those moments happen anyway.
It's like, and it also highlights anything that tries to awkwardly shoehorn in Boxing Day. Is that, like, I know you say over the last 10 years we've been fine somewhat, but we have had washouts, blowouts, because, we've all seen the storm, Jamiroquai, that blows yellow warning and it goes away, right? And now we have snow, right? So we're not guaranteed Boxing Day either. So does this not highlight again that the May of everything is a bit silly? We could have had a big title game today, but unfortunately the weather happened.
Yeah, it's to me anyway. It's been two things. It's never really been about postponements to me. The reasons that I think I would probably like it are just, even as a supporter, as a fan, sitting in football grounds during summer is lovely. Sitting in a pair of shorts watching football's class.
It's not right.
Yeah, it's that, and it's obviously the European conversation. But I also realize that there are only a small number of teams that directly applies to. Teams that are kind of making that their sole focus, setting out into a season, and to have had um, more time to get up to game speed this summer would definitely have been an advantage to Larne. We went into the third round this year, which was phenomenal. It was really good. And we obviously made the league phase with the season as it is right now. But I just I feel like to be able to hit the ground running in those games would give the teams that are playing in Europe an edge. So that's a selfish point. Playing 2 or 3 friendlies and going over to Portugal or wherever to play a team that are in mid-season form, even in terms of fitness and whatever else. To me, it's sort of like I was walking up out of Inver with the sleet and the snow hitting my face with someone to give them a lift home on Friday night, and I was like, sure, why would you want summer football anyway? It just comes down to that. I think it might attract more families out, more people to come and sit in the stands. I don't think it's ever been about postponements.
Joel, this is all theoretical. If only we had some sort of similar league that was previously at a similar standard, that had a similar climate, that had a similar kind of maybe potential fan base, that has seen success both within European football, fan attendance, and overall growth within the league. If there was an example like that we could point to, I think it could really help this discussion. But unfortunately, there's nothing even remotely like that
There's no
anywhere
science.
close
There's no science.
that we could even suggest could be the outcome of a change. Anyway, there was games not on New Year's Day because they're now on happening beforehand. We'll not go through every single one of these, but just somewhat highlights of what's been going on. We've talked about them very briefly already. After Boxing Day, 'cause we haven't had a full pod about this. As we said earlier, Bangor beat Ballymena, which again just adds this rocky start so far for Oran Kearney, but he's been adding players. Coleraine beat Linfield in what seemed like a big result and just seemed to be a bad result for everybody. Crusaders and Carrick in a bit of a bottom of the table ish battle around 11th, drew 2-2. Dungannon slipped by Glenavon 1-0. Glentoran come back to beat Portadown 2-1, and then Larne and Cliftonville, I don't know if they actually played a football game. I just think you waved fists at each other, angling, and then 90 minutes passed, and it was 0-0, and that was that, right?
There's two flavors of a Larne game. There's the sit-in games where we have to grind and grind and grind, and if you can unlock a team after 65, 70 minutes, they're not protecting anything anymore. That's when you begin to get in behind. Or there's the teams that come to run and gun you. And Friday night against Coleraine was two teams going at each other, and that Cliftonville game was very much the opposite.
So we've had a bit of to and throwing this January. Last January, I thought it was quiet, bar a bit of the, oh no, Larne are have decided they're not going to be a good football team anymore and are selling all the good players, and we find out they still are, and they would like to be good, and are actually looking quite savvy for moving on at an opportune time. Anyway, good players still, but you know what I'm trying to say here. We've talked earlier about what Ballymena have done. Dean Ebe, ex-Cruise and TNS player, who was down doing things in League of Ireland Championship level. See what he can do if he comes in. Striker. On the opposite side of that, Igor Rakowski, player who scored bag loads for Armagh. Very, very young, but can he step up to the top level? They've just added Sean Murray from Cork City, who many people will know around the league. That should add a bit more steel in the centre midfield. With that, Josh Carson has left Ballymena through just mutual let's not be friends anymore. Owen Kearney coming the boss has nothing to do with that. And he looks to be the man that will at least fill one of the midfield roles. Of course, I don't know if he's played a game of football this year, but he's come in at Portadown as Ben Wiley leaves. He's not the only people to leave Portadown. Jimmy Red, the wing back who used to be with Lockall, very surprised. I don't know if he's kicked up off Portadown. He's now gone to Newry. What a signing that is at that level. Ryan Mays has also left Portadown to join this arms race to get out of PIL. Dergview, I mean, that man is just he's gonna have fun there. And then it says Reece Adams has went to Dundalk here. We talked about Johnny Russell leaving Glentoran, and then Glenavon. They've brought in Gavin Gilmore from Finn Harps. He's a winger. I know naught about him, but a team that needed bodies and needed quality to try and help this potential miracle push. We all know about McDade and O'Connor going. Lombardo just saying this hasn't worked out. Bossacani, he's went back to Drogheda. Now, that's a player who was in and about the starting 11, and I just think it's going to be difficult to replace him. Even I know he would not have been a starring role type of player, but still. And then Corey Smith. Ouch. Like, if I was to name the top 3 players that Glenavon needed to keep, I would. He's maybe number 1.
I really like Corey Smith.
I'm really interested to see what happens with him, because I do not think there's even a role from the bench for him with Coleraine. Maybe there is, but that is a player who I think needs the rest of the season to be a starring role somewhere else. And I wonder if he is going to return to a Dungannon or a Portadown. That would be an excellent sign for those teams, because yes, he is not at the top level winger, I would say, that has consistency as well, but he has the spark. He has the juice to potentially be a top level player in this league in the next 3 years.
Really like Corey. It's interesting because he was the same for Larne before he went off and ended up with Glenavon. Really, really talented, but just couldn't get a look in because of Larne's squad. And it seems like it'll be probably a similar situation. It's always the double-edged sword with, especially in January, whenever you reshuffle as a team that has the sort of the benefit and the good fortune to have resources and the ability to go to market. You're loading your squad where you may already have depth and players that never get a look in, and also you're on the risk of players who are maybe on the fringe or even starting, kind of becoming discontent. You know, why are you stacking the depth here whenever we've got it's a double-edged sword, those kinds of moves. I'd love to see it work out for him. Really, really great kid. I really like his football too, but I think what he needs right now is first team football.
Yeah, well, I think that could be a name to watch out for. I think I alluded earlier on. Jack Scott, his loan ending at Carrick suggests he is meant for somewhere. I have heard mention a lot of people connecting him with Ballymena and Portadown for various reasons. That's a player who's been about, coming from Linfield as well. Like, he's got a big, strong body. Is he a midfield player? Is he a wing back? Is he a wide defender? I'm not 100% sure, but still a good quality Irish League player. We talked about Coleraine adding in Ben Wiley. He went straight in. So did Mark Connolly, experienced defender from Derry. They have James Akatunde as another player.
He came off the bench on Friday night as well.
another one of these strikers. McGonagall doesn't look like he's the odd man out just yet when it comes to playing off the bench. So they bring these players back, as well as Shannon Devine from the Welders. He was having a nice season. Could he be jumping up to play top flight football? We'll have to see. Oh, as I said earlier, the chat is that Nathaniel Ferris could be going in the other way if there was a move for Jack Malone to leave. I just look. We had this conversation earlier in the season about do Glenavon just prepare themselves for the championship. I think losing Jack Malone, Corey Smith. I know Nathaniel Ferris is a great player to come in. Are you arguing that you are maybe setting yourself up for that? Cliftonville, the Brandon Birmingham thing from Dungannon is a bit of a last minute loan. Didn't really work out, so now he's back with the Swifts. Tom Lavery, or was that Lavery actually? He was a Lavery, wasn't he? Wing back. Tom Lavery.
Take your word for it.
I think he was. The whole McBrien. It was McBrien, even though it was. I'm pretty sure because Tom Lavery. Anyway, he's gone. We'll never talk about him again. Forget about him. Joseph. Is it Joseph Toole or O'Toole? Joseph Toole. He's now come in to Cliftonville on loan. I don't know if I'm really expecting much to be happening with Cliftonville, bar maybe loans that are pretty safe and pretty chilled.
But they will seem like they're in a limbo season. It seems to have been the story of their year, just with what's going on or not going on off the pitch. And I don't know. I'm sort of watching along with everybody else with intrigue, but it almost seems like let's do the best with what we have here, boys.
It's one of the most exciting and intriguing weekends of the year. Irish Cup 5th round. And let's see how many games. 1, 2, 3, 16. Should have known that.
Live mads there.
Down to the final 32. That was a lot longer. I just cut that short, everybody. A lot longer in real life. So many games here. Not a huge amount of big clashes between teams that are in the top flight, which isn't the worst thing. There's some. The main one maybe being Coleraine Cruise. That's the Friday night game. Like, somebody decent will go out there. Like, as much as Crusaders are somewhat in form, and Cruise fan Adam Ritchie is letting me know of my failure to back the Cruise. Unfortunately, it's going to be another time here. I think this is another one for Coleraine, and it's been an interesting battle between these two teams over the past few years, but I do think these teams are very different compared to their previous matchups.
I'm not seeing past Coleraine for that, quite simply. I think it's following, obviously, a demoralising defeat at Inver on Friday, and that's not me kind of sticking the knife in. That's the kind of game that you come into like a wounded animal. I imagine Coleraine will be comfortable.
Yeah, we'll go through this alphabetically because, well, that's how I've got it set up, but we will talk about the games in the quote-unquote shock zone. I don't have a huge amount to say about Cumberrec against Ballymacash, obviously. There is a few of these games that are being played at 1:30, which makes the producer's job at Sports Sound a lot easier. Knockbreda, Loch-all. I'll be at that game. I followed Knockbreda a lot in the Irish Cup over the past few years, including beating St Mary's, I think 2, maybe 3 years ago now. They then then they almost beat Dungannon there. So I look forward to going back to see them in South Belfast. And my old boys Loch-all. It's my favourite lads coming together. That'll be a 1:30 due to floodlight stuff. Distillery, Warren Point. That could go either way. Warren Point probably favoured there. Obviously Loch-all favoured against Knockbreda. Knockbreda being a PIL team. This is what the 5th round's all about. Strabane against Glentoran in whatever Strabane's ground is called. Is there like a running track around it as well or something?
This is the magic though, isn't it? Like I still have just starry eyes for the Irish Cup. I think it still has the magic that a lot of other cup competitions in bigger leagues don't have anymore. The FA Cup used to bring the UK and further abroad to a standstill on final day. And it just doesn't have that same magic anymore. It's the 4th oldest cup competition on earth from memory. It still has that magic. It's something that we should always protect. And hopefully this weekend, as long as it's not Larne, a good upset is very, very good for intrigue and headlines.
Okay, so is the ground that Strabane Athletic play at called Crystal Park? Is it called Melvin Park Arena? or is it called Mill Meadow?
Are you asking me? Or
I'm asking you: is do they play at Hagen Park, Melvin Park Arena, or do they play at Mill Meadow?
is the answer all three somehow?
It is not. It's one of them, which means whatever you're going for is a guess.
Uh, the
Hagen Park, Melvin Park Arena, Mill Meadow.
Mill Meadow sounds Strabane Athletic.
It's not. It's Myola Park. Hagen Park is Coke United, and Melvin Park Arena is Strabane Athletic. The Coliseum that will host Glens against Strabane. Anything that isn't a victory here within 90 minutes for the Glens is one of those iconic Irish Cup results. So we will all wait with bated breath before, I don't know, a hat trick from Jordan Stewart seals it within 30 minutes. Armagh City against Drummond S Mills. I guess there's a team. Where's Drummond the S Mills from?
Uh, Drummond.
It feels very Antrim.
They're from the mills at Drummond.
That is somewhat true, but also they are from Bynhitch.
I'm gonna get
Obviously,
absolute pelters for this, aren't I? Like,
yeah, that's fine. I'm asking you, not the other way around. Obviously, I knew they were from Ballinahinch,
uh,
and you did not.
Armagh's an intriguing one at the minute, though. Did you see what the Welders did
Yes.
to them at the
Oh,
weekend?
well, let's beat them. But then, look, I'll be talking about this with Barry Flynn next week because Barry Flynn will be returning for his fourth annual fifth round review because that's the man who knows enough about. He probably has a whole chapter in his book about Drumness Mills. Ballynahinch actually had three teams and they all came together. So he'll be able to tell me all about that. He would definitely know about where Strabane Athletic play. So yeah, that will be interesting because he'll talk about how now that the championship is pretty much between the Welders, maybe Queens, but probably not, Anna and Limavady. Everybody else is like deck chairs, baby, because there's no relegation.
Yeah.
So this was somewhat predicted by him. Meanwhile, everybody in the PIL are like, "Oh, Rames, please help us."
I'm not fully clued in on what's going on with Armagh. I know it was Shay Campbell actually
Yes,
was the boss there and has gone. I know that Albert Watson has moved from Armagh along with a raft of
Daenerys.
other players. He's away in Uri, so not sure what's going on behind the scenes. But that's it's the first double figure score I've seen in a long time.
Well, we could see the Ballynahinch boys drum the mess
That's what I called
Mills.
them actually.
That's the boys. Ballymallard against Institute in a probably was a derby game in 2016 matchup
Yeah,
in the top flight.
yeah.
Ballymena Larne. The Slemish skirmish returns. Do you reckon Ballymena against Larne is more feisty, more spicy than Larne against Carrick / Coleraine against Ballymena?
I think it probably speaks to your era. And I said to you earlier in the show that I first started coming to Larne games sort of 2000 onwards, when both sides were bottom of the table Premiership, kind of relegation, perennial relegation strugglers, and there was a lot of bite in it back then. More recently, it probably remains the bigger derby to me in terms of local kind of traditional derbies than Carrick. Larne Carrick was a lot more of a derby whenever the teams were in the championship. The interesting thing about this is Larne v Ballymena in cups. The form book goes out the window. The last I think the last three encounters with Ballymena that Larne have had, Ballymena have put them out of whatever cup in a cup. Sorry, Ballymena have put Larne out. So whenever the draw happened, there was a collective miserable sigh from East Antrim. So uh, it's definitely a spicy derby when there's a cup when it's a cup fixture.
It's spicy in Slemish Town. I think as much as it is away, I think this is going to go to extra time, but I think Lauren's going to win
And it's going to
this.
be a horrible afternoon out, to be honest. Yes, but
Well,
buy your tickets and go and see.
could this? I think this is going to be in the shock zone. Carrick against Queens at Carrick. I know that's easy to say after being thumped. I don't think Queens have a Pat Hoopen level player, but they will be energetic and hard to play against.
And as we said earlier, recent memory, they did it at Linfield within the last kind of, that was 20, was it like 2017 or something? It was I can't remember the year, but they will definitely have seen that as a tantalising draw and will come in probably ready to roll.
We then have Cliftonville Dundela. Like that a lot. Would have loved it at Dundela though.
Yeah, the Duns are an interesting one. They were right on the verge of sort of Premiership. Had I think a whole debacle with their ground and their pitch, and have gone through
Oh
a real
yes.
sort of lean spell. Interesting game. I'm not sure I see an upset though.
No, neither do I. Dungannon Ards at Stangmore, I think as much as there'll be names that go, oh, you remember him in the Ards squad, and I talk about how maybe, particularly at the back, the Swifts have lost a bit of consistency, I still think they'll have enough to win that game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that should be a fairly straightforward one. Dungannon have punished Larne this season. I know what they're capable of. I don't see it going any other way.
This is a wretched, wretched draw for Glenavon. Could be even worse if it was away from home. Up come Newington. Donnelly's and co. I think Newington are going to have enough firepower up top to win this.
Yeah, yeah. Don't know. I mean,
Obviously, it can go the other way, but I, I just think Newington are going to score, and I don't know if Glenavon, in the state they're in, are going to score back.
Newington are a couple of bad results away from kind of hovering above non-relegation in the
Yeah,
championship. Sitting sixth right now. Yeah, yeah. Do you know you have a fair point? I could probably see that one being close, being close. There's not an awful lot of places on the big long table between the two sides.
look, if the shock zone was the dishwasher, it would be sitting just on top of it. As in, you're thinking about putting it in, but it's just not in there yet. It's
The
hovering.
Blime sports media
That's
analogy.
that's where it is there. Limavady, Lisburn Rangers. Sure. I mean, Limavady, I think low key could just do bits against
I don't
Lisburn
want to talk about
Rangers.
Limavady in the Irish
There,
Cup.
I know. Well, tough. Linfield against Bangor. Fun for Bangor again. They're like, should we
Yeah,
just stay here?
yeah,
Should
yeah.
we just? Can we leave our kits there and we'll pick them up? We'll pick them up on the way back, stick them in the washing machine, and then we'll wear them. That'll be fair enough. I think they should just swap kits there. I don't want to see that black one again. Then Holland Wolf Welders go to the famous ground, the storied ground of Myola Park when they go to Mill Meadow, famously. And that I think the Welders should win that, even though Myola Park have a few nice players. Like you don't win 12-0. I know it's against whatever Armagh City are going through. I think the Welders should win that. And then oh sorry, this is last year's Portadown against Anna. Sorry, that's every cup ever seemingly
Yes,
for the
yeah,
past 2 years.
and every relegation playoff as well. But that's that. I mean, if you're from
I don't need to check through the history books to tell you the record's not good for the ports.
if you're from that part of the world, you couldn't have asked for more for an Irish Cup weekend. That will be one of the feistiest ties of the round.
Yeah, it could be fun for either side there. I'm gonna give them a bit of love and say they're gonna bounce back and get a win here, but recent history, like maybe Annie United have hacked Niall Curry's computer and knows all his tactics, and that's what they're able to do. But yeah, it's one of those ones you think, oh, could be, and it'll probably just be 2-0 at halftime and boring. So yeah, like I think against any other team, Annie United might have a bit more oomph to them, but I don't know. There's something against this Portadown game where like the what I'm trying to say here. Like
Yeah,
form will go out the window. I think this will kind of happen again. Weirdly for Anna, even though they're in good form and Ports are kind of meek. So yeah, looking forward to it all. Of course, until you aren't. Joel, great chats. Where have you booked the party for obviously winning the league? Have you got like the bus ordered yet, or what's the story?
the biggest game for Larne is the next one, Peter. I
And hopefully, you see if Lauren get through and they get drawn away to Moyola Park. I have pushed that into the universe. Lauren go to Mill Meadow, and someone go, "Where's that?" And Joel will go, "Moyola Park."
maybe there's a situation where we get drawn away to Knockbreda. Is Bo the Bulldog still at Knockbreda? Do you know? Do you know Bo the
Who?
Bulldog?
I
Knockbreda
don't.
have a dog that is a ball boy. Uh, favorite thing, favorite.
Ah, okay.
We'll devote a whole segment to it another time. a dog called Bo. I need somebody to tell me if Bo's still in action. I haven't been to Knockbreda in a little while.
I'll check up. I'll check up. I'll be there. I'll be there going, and what's the score? And I go, well, unfortunately, the game has been abandoned due to a ball being eaten by a dog.
Listen,
Uh,
Bo's a professional, or at least was the last time I was there.
it was. It was Bo's being retired. I will ask. I will ask
Thank you.
around for Bo. Here, Joel. How was doing the commentary on that totally not very commented online thing, Nifl
Yeah,
TV?
it was fun. I'm always willing to try things. I think Boxing Day was a free hit for Nifl TV. The games chosen were busy anyway. I can certainly see the arguments on both sides. You know, first and foremost, the reason I'm an Irish League fan is experience in football in real life at the level that we're at. I think that it's the purest way to watch football. It's the reason that sort of the Premier League and larger leagues watching football on TV even has always appealed to me less than standing, freezing, eating a burger, watching games live. But times are changing. I'm willing to sort of to give it a chance, see how it does. I think the coverage was really good. I think the league did a good job of sort of marketing it and packaging it, and sort of the day or two after it as well. Let's see how it goes. You know, the League of Ireland TV obviously does very well. There are differences, you know, and that's a key thing. You know, there's no sort of 5 hour away day on a Tuesday night in the Irish League. But I've always had the opinion that people who want to be in the ground will be in the ground. And if there's an opportunity for someone who maybe can't or isn't even able to, kind of either health wise or where they live or whatever else, to you know see the product to do the corporate speak, and I think it's a good thing. But I think the league are smart enough to sort of see how it goes, and if it ever came to a situation where it looked like it was harming the league, I don't think that they would persist with it. I like that Nifl are despite the criticism that's leveled at them, you know, some of it fair, some of it unfair. I like that they're pushing, and I like that they're innovating. I like that they're trying new things. It's much better to me to be in the sort of Irish league that I find myself in now than the one that I sort of grew up watching in my teens. Nothing wrong with that, but we're worlds apart. So I think I'm pitching for it. I'm not. I'm a fan like anybody else, but I'm always willing to give a new thing a try.
Football on the TV in the summer. Could you imagine such film? I don't think it would catch on. Summer
It'll never
football
has.
football on the TV during the summer. It's too wild, too wild. Joel, thank you so much for joining me. It's been great to chat to you again. I'm sure we'll have a celebratory conversation later on in the season. If not, it's all my fault. Good luck, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, my friend. Cheers.
I'm not here to tell you what to do, but it would be very, very nice now that it's 2026 to follow said podcast. We've been around for a couple of years, as we said near the start. And if you want to get a little notification to tell you as soon as this podcast is up and about, then jumping onto the homepage of your Apple Podcasts, of your Spotify, going to Kick a Match, and that general page of that, hit and follow it and subscribe. It's free, it's easy. Means you get a push notification to let you know Peter's got a pod. It's fun, it's easy, and it would make me feel nice. Hope all is good. Hope you're feeling warm after the past few days. I'll be back, same time, same place, for what is one of the more fun episodes of the year, looking back at the Irish Cup 5th round with Barry Flynn. See you then.